Okay, we can.
Okay, so we will say our prayers first, invocation prayers, and then we will start. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, I need to be able to share the screen. Say our prayers first.
Okay.
ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्णकरुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तु ते। तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. So I'm still unable to. Oh, okay. Now I can share my screen. Finally. Okay. So today's topic. Let me see. We have. Okay. So today's topic is what are the real miseries? Why do we suffer? Why does God allow suffering if He loves us? Can we get out of this suffering? How to get out of this suffering? So, what are the real miseries? So let's see what the Shastras, what the Vedic scriptures say. Now, all of this can be corroborated with our experience as well. But the reason we share the screen with the Vedic scriptures, scriptural quotations, is because our experience must be corroborated by Vedic evidence. Otherwise, we will have our own ideas about everything. So it shouldn't be like that. Because our mind has been cheating us for millions of lifetimes. And because of our mind, we have been thinking of so many things. And at the time of death, we think of the most prominent thought. And according to that, we will get our next life. So basically, it's because of our mind that we have been transmigrating from one body to another, to another, to another in every lifetime. So our mind actually has been our greatest enemy all this while. Let me show you that first. Because our miseries are because of listening too much to the mind. Of course, the mind came in now in the material world, not now. When we came into this material world, in the spiritual world, we had spiritual mind. Here we have a material mind, which gives us a lot of problems. So let us understand a little bit about the mind. So then you will understand why I'm always showing the screen to validate my point and not just my experience. Some people say, oh, that is too much of bookish knowledge. You're not speaking from your experience. No, we do have the same experience. The reason we show the scriptures is because to show that this is authorized statement. Because everybody's experience is different, right? So, and the conclusions that we draw from our experiences can also be different according to our understanding. So, whether my understanding is correct or not, I have to check with the Shastra, with what Krishna is saying, with what God is saying. If it coincides, yes, that is true. So, although we do have the experience of all these things, at least to the degree of our advancement, we experience that much proportionately. But still, the system should be that we have to quote references. Then we will know we are exactly on the right track, because then I'm not cheating. Because nowadays it is a fashion for any guru to speak whatever he wants, and then people just suck in everything. So that's very dangerous. So this should be the system. And I'll show you, before we go here, I'll show you one thing. How to speak in spiritual circles. In spiritual societies, how to speak. So this verse here from the Bhagavad Gita, 17th chapter, 15th verse. Anudvegakaram vakyam satyam priyahitam chayat swadhyayabhyasanam chaiva vanmayam tapa uchyate. Austerity of speech consists in speaking words that are truthful, pleasing, beneficial, and not agitating to others, and also in regularly reciting Vedic literature. See? So purport. This is Srila Prabhupada's explanation, is very important as well. You see, one should not speak in such a way as to agitate the minds of others. Of course, when a teacher speaks, he can speak the truth for the instruction of his students, but such a teacher should not speak to those who are not his students if he will agitate their minds. This is penance as far as talking is concerned. Besides that, one should not talk nonsense. The process of speaking in spiritual circles is to say something upheld by the scriptures. One should at once quote from scriptural authority to back up what he is saying. At the same time, such talk should be very pleasurable to the ear. By such discussions, one may derive the highest benefit and elevate human society. There is a limitless stock of Vedic literature, and one should study this. This is called penance of speech. So this is how we should conduct ourselves. Every time quoting the scriptures and presenting it in a palatable way to the audience. So now, having understood that, let's come back. Let's understand a little bit about the mind. Why it is actually the seat of all miseries. Because let's be honest, any situation that life throws at us, we can choose to react in whichever way we like. But we are forced to react in certain ways, depending on our swabhava. In Sanskrit we say swabhava, according to our conditioning. So if I am predominantly in the mode of goodness, I will react in one way. If I am predominantly in the mode of passion, which is rajoguna, goodness is sattvagun, passion is rajogun, and if I am predominantly in the tamogun or mode of ignorance, I will react in another way. So, and if I am transcendental to these three modes, I am aloof. I don't react at all. It doesn't matter to me. So, that is how we think about any situation. Depending on that, we react. So that's why we should understand. And the vast majority of miseries can be counteracted if we just become aloof. But it's not so easy. It's easier said than done. So we will learn today how to navigate. It's not that with this one session we will be totally equipped, because it involves, this is just an explanation, but we have to put it into practice. And then yes, we can navigate any situation. And it also comes with time, with persistent practice. Like any skill, it requires persistent practice. Now let's understand at least. So in the 6th chapter, 5th verse, it is said, Uddharedatmanatmanam natmanam avasadayet atmaiva hyatmano bandhur atmaiva ripuratmanah. One must deliver himself with the help of his mind and not degrade himself. The mind is the friend of the conditioned soul and his enemy as well. See this? Our enemy is not someone, this person or that person or this country or that country or this institution or that. No, our enemy is our mind. We think it is our greatest friend, it's not. बन्धुरात्मात्मनस्तस्य येनात्मैवात्मना जितः अनात्मनस्तु शत्रुत्वे वर्तेत आत्मैव शत्रुवत्. For him who has conquered the mind is the best of friends. But for one who has failed to do so, his mind will remain the greatest enemy. This is so important. And because we have seen this verse, but I'll show you again. You see, what you think of at the time of death, that will determine your next life. So you think with what? With the help of the mind. So whatever you have been thinking throughout your life will determine your thought at the time of death, and that thought will take you to the next body. See, 8.5. Antakale cha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram yah prayati samadbhavam yati nastyatra samshayah. And whoever at the end of life quits his body remembering me alone, at once attains my nature. Of this there is no doubt. Okay? If we remember Krishna, we will go back to him. But if we don't, then this is what happens. 8th chapter, 6th verse. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajatyante kalevaram tam tamevaiti kaunteya sada tadbhava bhavitaha. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, O son of Kunti, that state he will attain without fail. Without fail, we will attain that state in our next life. So this is why controlling the mind is so important, and keeping it in Krishna consciousness, by which we can easily transcend the miseries of birth and death and all the miseries that come in life. Now let's see how yogis who actually control the mind, or who are endeavoring to control the mind, how do they deal with the mind? Let's look at some understanding of this. So, this is a Sanskrit. Rishiruvacha satyamuktam kintuiha va ekana manasodha vishrambham anavasthanasya shatakirata iva sangachante. Srila Sukadeva Goswami replied, My dear king, you have spoken correctly. However, after capturing animals, a cunning hunter does not put faith in them, for they might run away. Similarly, those who are advanced in spiritual life do not put faith in the mind. Indeed, they always remain vigilant and watch the mind's action. Tatha choktam nakuriyat karhi chitsakhyam manasi hyanavasthite yad vishrambhat chirachirnam chaskanda tapa aishwaram. All the learned scholars have given their opinion. The mind is by nature very restless, and one should not make friends with it. If we place full confidence in the mind, it may cheat us at any moment. Even Lord Shiva became agitated upon seeing the Mohini form of Lord Krishna, and Saubhari Muni also fell down from the mature stage of yogic perfection. So in other words, big yogis, they were very stalwart yogis. They also fell down just because they had too much faith in the mind, and the mind tricked them into sense gratification. So, the knowledgeable man, the intelligent man, he will not place faith in the mind, and he will not make friends with it until it becomes a friend. Now it's in an enemy state. When it is completely controlled, then it will become our friend. So now it is not controlled. So he is an enemy. So we must be, how careful are we when our enemy is somewhere around us? Right? We are alert. But our mind is always around us, always with us, sitting and talking confidentially with us. We are having conversations with our mind all the time. Having conversations with our enemy. And allowing our mind to counsel us and mislead us into this revolving cycle of birth and death. So nityam dadati kamasya chhidram te anuyerayah yoginah kritamaitrasya patyurjayeva pumschali. No. An unchaste woman is very easily carried away by paramours. And it sometimes happens that her husband is violently killed by her paramours. If the yogi gives his mind a chance and does not restrain it, his mind will give facility to enemies like lust, anger, and greed, and they will doubtlessly kill the yogi. So, yogi means not just one who is sitting down there like that. No. A yogi is a person who is trying to connect himself with Krishna. Yoga, the word yoga means linking up or connection. Yoga does not mean just standing upside down and doing all these asanas. That is just one aspect of it. And then nowadays yoga is very, it's not represented properly at all. It is just some exercise nowadays. That's not yoga. Yoga means to control the mind, the senses, and control the breath, and in that way focus the mind on the Paramatma in the heart, the Lord in the heart. That is the whole point is to become closer to the Lord. That is yoga. Now we are disconnected from God to connect back with Him. That is called yoga. So a yogi is one who is endeavoring in that direction. So as we are doing that, our mind is dragging us downwards. So here the example is given: an unchaste woman, a woman who is not faithful. She hops from one man to another. That kind of woman is easily carried away by paramours. Paramours means, for those of you who do not know, paramour is a person other than one's husband. If she's married to one man, but she's having an affair with another man, that another man is the paramour of this woman. So she may have a pumschali. Pumschali means the worst kind of woman. So she will have many men like that. She has no moral compass. So she will just do anything. So our mind is like that. Always switching topics. Instead of being chaste, instead of being faithful to God, our mind is switching to one topic, to another topic, always trying to enjoy. Just like the woman, she's supposed to, faithfully serve her husband and, have a proper relationship. But no, if she goes and have relationship with one man, another man, hopping, it's a very horrible condition. And eventually, one of those paramours who may love the woman, too much, he may even kill the husband. These things have happened all the time. So our mind is like that. So if we place too much faith, we are sitting with an enemy. All the time we are sitting with an enemy. And the mind is always reacting to everything. But Krishna says, so I think next verse also is there. Yeah. Now let's see this. Kamo manyur mado lobha shoka moha bhayadayah karma bandhascha yanmoolah svikuryat ko nu tadbudhah. The mind is the root cause of lust, anger, pride, greed, lamentation, illusion, and fear. Combined, these constitute bondage to fruitive activity. What learned man would put faith in the mind? Look at this. See, so we are always taught to see that the problem is always somewhere else, not me. I'm not the problem. This situation is the problem. That person is the problem. This, policy by the government, this is the problem. Yes, they are also, products of miscalculation by many people. But whatever it is, the reason, the way I react to such situations is a real problem for me. Because the same, for example, you're driving on a road, and then as you're driving, you will see some car overturned upside down and maybe in flames, or maybe the driver is injured quite badly. Now you see that and you feel quite bad, and then you will think about it for a few moments and it's gone. You're just passing by. So although it is quite bad, but it doesn't affect you as much. Now compare that if I myself have gotten into the accident, or if it is someone who is dear to me, how much more it is painful for me. Why is that so? It's the same accident. Why at one point I'm not so much affected, but another time I'm very much affected. It's because of our attachment to my own body or to a body of someone who is dear to me, whom I consider dear in this life. So, because of that attachment, the same situation becomes much more painful. So, it is safe to conclude that attachment is the cause of our misery. The more we are attached to the people in this world, our friends, our relatives, our situations, our so called security in this world, or our anything that we are attached to, the more we are attached to it, the more we will have problems later on. That's why in any religion, one is advised to detach himself, not attach himself more and more. Of course, there are, instructions for attachment as well. Like there is marriage, for example, where one gets attached to a woman, a man gets attached to a woman, and then there's children, there's house and everything. But such attachment, although it is sanctioned by scriptures, it is only to save us from much bigger attachment and much worse attachment, which is just unrestrictedly having sex with any woman and every woman, and then having children everywhere, and then like no order. That is much worse. So to restrict that unrestricted attachment only to marriage, and that's why there is institution of marriage. It is just restriction of problematic condition, so that the problem is limited. But it's still problematic. It's not that there is marriage and there's absolutely as they say fairy tales. Oh, the Cinderella met the frog prince or whatever, and then he became a prince, and then they live happily ever after. That doesn't happen. That's some fantasy. That doesn't happen. There is always trouble, but at least it is minimized, and it is further minimized and almost completely eradicated if we take to God consciousness. If we become Krishna conscious, God conscious, then even in the marriage, although it is full of a lot of challenges, but it will become quite smooth sailing if we take shelter of Krishna, God. But if we don't, we are asking for absolute trouble. Because, even animals have families, let's be honest. What is the great thing about having a family? If it's just about the family and no God inside the whole arrangement, then it's as good as animal life. Ahara nidra bhaya maithunam cha samanyametat pashubhir naranam dharmo hitesham adhiko vishesho dharmena hina pashubhir samana. There is this nice shloka, nice verse in the scriptures, which says, Ahara, Nidra, Bhaya and Maithuna. What is common among humans and animals? Eating, Ahara, Nidra, sleeping, Bhaya, fearing, and Maithuna, sex. So sex means family, house, everything. Now, these four are common among human and animals. But dharmo hi tesham adhiko vishesha dharmena hina pashubhir samana. Dharma is something which distinguishes us from the animals. If we don't have the dharma, what is dharma? Religion. Our capacity to understand God's instruction, obey Him and understand God as much as He reveals to us, this faculty is only available for the human being, not for any of the animals. And if we, juxtaposition the modern civilization with this description and try to analyze what is our modern civilization. I always say this, in Thailand, is there the Grab app for taxis and like Uber? It is Grab here in Thailand? Okay. So here in Singapore also it's Grab. And it is also like Uber Eats in America and all that. Here it's Grab food. So now, a lion, he hunts and then he grabs an animal and eats. And we are going to Grab app and ordering our food. And this is called Grab food. The lion grabs his food literally. We offer through Grab food. So this is our advancement so-called in today's advanced civilization. It is just a different way of doing things, but the same. The point is eating. How much ever conveniently or comfortably we do it, however comfortably we grab our food, Um, that does not change the point that we are grabbing our food and eating, right? So, in a sense, we are actually not so advanced. We're just advanced in the same thing as the animal. We have not gone more than that. Our intelligence is not meant to compete to be better animals. And if you see, dogs are running on four legs. We are running on four wheels. The birds are flying. We are trying to fly in an aeroplane. The birds don't crash into anything, but we crash sometimes. Even the mosquito doesn't crash. So, I mean, their flying is better than ours. And in every way, like we dug so many tunnels in this world. I mean, on this planet. The rats are also digging tunnels. Yeah, we may be a little more sophisticated now digging of tunnels. But I mean, we're just a better version of a rat. And they call it rat race nowadays. Dog eat dog world. So we're comparing ourselves with dogs, rats, cats, and pigs. This is our current civilization. We as humans should utilize our extra intelligence to understand who am I. The dog cannot question this. The snakes, the birds, they cannot question who am I. We can. Why did I take birth? Why do I die when I don't want to die? Nobody likes to die, but why are we forced to die? Who is God? Is there any controller? What is my relationship with Him? What is the aim of life? Why are there so much varieties of life? These questions, animals cannot ask these questions. Therefore, in the Vedanta Sutra, Brahma Sutra, the first aphorism is said, Athato Brahma Jignasa. The meaning is, now that you're a human being, please inquire about your real nature. Because that is the beginning of education, that is the beginning of real human life. Otherwise, dharmena hina pashubhir samana. If we don't have this dharma, if we really question, then we will be led to this dharmic path. But if we don't, then, we are just animal. Dharmena hina pashubhir samana. Very easy to understand in Sanskrit. Pashu means animals. Pashubhi means all the animals put together. Samana means equal. We are as good as animals if we don't have dharma. So we have to have this. And dharma means the word of God. And now we already have access. Now Bhagavad Gita is the word of God, God personally speaking. So we should study and then we will understand, oh, okay, this is how it is. Then we will understand the world much better and our purpose in it and what exactly should we do. Instead of exploring and exploring and exploring. Many people want to explore nowadays. They want to go here and go there and try this out, try that out. In this way, the whole life is wasted. Whole life is wasted. And they don't even understand who they are. So our mind has been our biggest enemy. It is the cause, as we saw. I'll repeat that shloka again. See that. So because the question is, what are miseries? What are the main miseries? We will go to that. There are actually 7 kinds of main miseries, 4 pillar miseries and 3 types of miseries. But you see, the mind, now whatever situation it is, the mind is the cause of trouble because we react with the mind. See, the mind is the root cause of lust, anger, pride, greed, lamentation, illusion, and fear. Combined, these constitute bondage to fruitive activity. What learned man would put faith in the mind? So even if, like the accident situation I have given, it's the same situation. Yes, it's a miserable situation, but I don't feel so miserable when I'm not attached to the situation compared to when I am. So our attachment, our bondage is what is causing us the pain. Now, having understood that, what are the situations that are miserable situations? And then I will show you also how a yogi, how a devotee, he deals with different situations, how he is so tolerant in any situation, and thereby he is peaceful. Now, so let us see what are the miseries. Let me share my screen again. So, here There are 5 verses here, 5 slokas. They list the characteristics of a person who is knowledgeable. Now, here in today's world, we consider ourselves educated if we have passed a degree and if we have some kind of credentials in the Western education system. But actually, according to Bhagavad Gita, the person who is actually educated, he should have these qualities. Let us see. अमानित्वम् अदम्भित्वम् अहिंसा क्षान्तिरार्जवम् आचार्योपासनं शौचं स्थैर्यम् आत्मविनिग्रहः इन्द्रियार्थेषु वैराग्यम् अनहङ्कार एव च जन्म मृत्युज्जरा व्याधि दुःखदोषानुदर्शनम् असक्तिरनभिष्वङ्गः पुत्रदारगृहादिषु नित्यं च समचित्तत्वम् इष्टानिष्टोपपत्तिषु मयि चानन्ययोगेन भक्तिरव्यभिचारिणी विविक्तदेशसेवित्वम् अरतिर्जनसंसदि अध्यात्मज्ञाननित्यत्वं तत्त्वज्ञानार्थदर्शनम् एतज्ज्ञानमिति प्रोक्तम् अज्ञानं यद् अतोऽन्यथा. See, these are the symptoms of knowledge. Humility, pridelessness, non-violence, tolerance, simplicity, approaching a bona fide spiritual master, cleanliness, steadiness, self-control, renunciation of the objects of sense gratification, absence of false ego, the perception of evil, of birth, death, old age, and disease, detachment, freedom from entanglement with children, wife, home, and the rest, even-mindedness amid pleasant and unpleasant events, constant and unalloyed devotion to me, aspiring to live in a solitary place, detachment from the general mass of people, accepting the importance of self-realization and philosophical search for the absolute truth. All these are declared to be knowledge, and besides this, whatever there may be is ignorance. So, among all of this, the miseries that are mentioned here is this: the evil of birth, death, old age, and disease. Dukkha doshanudarshanam. We should see that these are the principal miseries. In the exact Sanskrit is here. Janma mrityu jara vyadhi dukkha doshanudarshanam. Darshana, anudarshanam means to be able to see. Dukkha dosha. So these are the faults of this material world, or the miserable conditions of this material world. Why we say faults? Because we want to be happy. But these 4 miseries are never gone, despite whatever advancement we may undertake, scientific advancement or philosophical advancement, whatever it is. Janma, birth, the misery of birth, cannot be undone with any amount of scientific advancement. So the child has to suffer from 9 months within the womb, and the mother also has to suffer, during those 9 months to an extent. And then the father also, of course, because of, he has to take care of the mother, the wife. So in this way, but not only during birth, then he has to raise the child up, which is again a lot of challenge, a lot of hard work. But apart from that hard work, that is okay, responsibility. But at least the janma, though, it is very, very painful, extremely painful. In fact, it is said that many times women, when they are laboring just before the birth, childbirth, they even, in fact, in the Western country, I don't know how much about these countries. I have never been to a operation theater or somewhere near where mothers are giving birth, but this is what I've heard from other people and doctors and nurses, that when they are going to give birth, many of them even curse their husbands. Many women, because of so much pain. In some cases, they even shout vulgarity. It's all because of you. This is all, I'm suffering so much. So of course their moods are all haywire. So for whatever it is, but after the child is already born, then they will feel some relief. and then they will say that I will never do this again. But then again, they will get pregnant after a few months or a year or a couple of years or what. They will again want to become pregnant. So this is how, the Maya, the illusion is so strong that we repeatedly go for the same miseries. So birth is very miserable, but it's part of life. I'm not saying, now everybody should stop. No, I'm not saying. It's in the course of life. We can't avoid, So birth is there. Death is there. And they're trying so much contraceptive, this and that, trying to control birth and abortion and this and that, but still the population is increasing, right? Of course, the increase in population itself is not a problem. As the world leaders try to make us believe, they say, oh, this is overpopulation, and we will not have sufficient resources on our planet to feed the entire population. That's not true. That's not true. Eko bahunam yo vidadhati kaman. Krishna can provide unlimited number of living entities, and he is not only can provide, he is providing already. Yeah. So it doesn't matter actually how many children, how many people there are. Krishna has enough facility for everybody. But it's only because of our mismanagement that we don't have enough. There's so much wastage in the so-called first world countries, and there's not enough in the third world countries. There's just a mismanagement of a lot of resources. But if it is all properly managed with God consciousness, then there's enough supply for everyone. It's only because of greed it is restricted. So anyway, birth is a principal misery. Death is another misery. Of course we know. Nobody likes to die. And death is not painful. Death is not peaceful. It is always painful. And and if not only death, our death, somebody else's death is also painful to us because they are gone, and that causes a lot of misery. Then jara, old age. Old age is a lot of misery, physically and mentally as well. Because when we are young, when we are children, we're always, all the attention is on us, and everybody is like, pampering us and this and that. And everything, we are playing with our friends and everything. It's all rosy. Then we go into the youth. Oh, it's even more rosy. We find some mate, and then, we hunt after them, and then, finally get one or something like that. And then enjoy romantic affairs. So it's all like, all hunky-dory. Then it comes to when we start hitting middle age. That's when we start to see our parents leaving us. We start making more visits to the hospital. Not maybe for us directly, but to visit elders who mattered to us. And then eventually we will go for our own miseries to the hospital. And then we will start to lose not only our parents who were a little bit distant to us, but even our own friends, relatives, brothers, sisters, we will start losing one by one. And then we think we are very wise now because we're old, and then we want to advise the younger generation, but the younger generation absolutely don't care for us when we grow old. And they will think that, oh, this old-fashioned fellow is always telling his nonsense. Okay, let him speak whatever he wants. Wait till he gets out of the room, then we'll do whatever we want. So that kind of attitude the younger generation have. So the older generation thinks, he's, wanting to advise the younger generation, but the younger generation absolutely doesn't care. And they throw them in the old age homes nowadays, especially in the Western culture. They throw them in the old age homes. They don't even give any attention. So in this way, it's very miserable. And one by one, the body starts to decay, or decay in the sense, it becomes less functional or disorderly. One by one, the lungs start failing, the kidney starts failing, the heart starts failing, the brain, everything is just on the downhill. So, and one may lose one's own life mate, like husband may lose his wife and wife may lose her husband. So it gets very real. Death is just like staring in the face now. And then finally, death comes. And then coupled with all of this, there is disease. Sporadically everywhere throughout the life there is disease, which is again painful. We just came out of a pandemic or a plandemic, whatever it is. So we came out of one. So that is painful. Nobody liked what happened through the COVID. People died, yes, and also we were locked down, and financially it was a problem, mentally it was a problem, psychologically, and so many domestic problems in the house because of everybody at the same time and all the time in the house, too much in their faces. So all this created so much social problems. So it's not easy. Life in this material world is not easy. That's why dukkhalayam ashashvatam. These are the four principal miseries. No matter how much advancement we make in the scientific advancement, these four miseries can never be undone. So we should measure our advancement by how much we are transcending these miseries. So if we are not, then it is not advancement. To have the next version of the iPhone or the Google phone or whatever, that's not advancement. That's not just because I can order my food, I can have my food faster, or I can travel faster, or I can do this faster and that faster. Or now I'm advanced. That's not the symptom of advancement. Advancement means I have to be able to solve the problems of my life. I have to end this birth, death, old age, and disease. Now, this life I cannot avoid, right? I already taken birth. I have to grow old. I have to get disease. I have to die. Of course, we know, we have learned we don't really die, but we have to go through this experience of giving up the body. But what we can do is that we don't have to necessarily take another birth, because disease, death, and old age, they are concomitant. As long as there is birth, the other three will follow. So if there's no more birth, then the other three won't be there. So that doesn't mean we just disappear into oblivion without any birth and without just hanging like a ghost. No. Go back to the spiritual world in our eternal kingdom where we live with God and have this infinite time spending with God and just playing with Him, dancing with Him, and just in different types of loving affairs with God. That's the love affair we should chase. That is real love. Here it is all about lust, and it is temporary. It's not going to last. No relationship in this material world will ever last. Time is so powerful. They say time is the greatest healer. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, time is the greatest destroyer. And it destroys. Kalos me lokakshaya krit pravriddho. Lokan samahartum iha pravrittaha. So that means, Krishna says, time I am, destroyer of the worlds. So, nobody had stood the test of time ever in this material world. But in the spiritual world, time has no jurisdiction at all. So, there is no destruction in the spiritual world. That's where we need to go. Then not take birth again here in this material world. So that's how we stop. That is real advancement. That's why people don't understand. When we say real charity is to actually spread the message of God, they say, come on, that is something else. You should, feed the poor people and, give some clothing and, some kind of medical supplies to poorer countries or poorer people. Yeah, fine. I mean, that is some pious activity, giving them some temporary relief from suffering, fine. But what about their eternal suffering, which is going on life after life? Are you going to terminate that? If you provide some comforts in this life and let them take another birth for millions of lifetimes, and they're still going to suffer, is that really a help? The example is given that if a bird in a cage is hungry and I want to really serve the bird, so what I do? I decorate the cage. Start decorating the cage with flowers, with creepers, with this and that, some lights and everything. But a bird is dying inside. He's hungry, he's starving. If you just give a little food, it doesn't need any of these nonsense decorations. It just needs some food. So, similarly, the soul, we are hungry for real happiness, but we are decorating our bodies with, not just physically decorating with the bodies, but all the paraphernalia of the body, like our countries, our this, our that, our degrees, our credentials, this and that, everything, and our relationships and our accumulated paraphernalia, like family, house, household furniture and pets and office, and there's work, and there's so many things we get attached to. These are all decorations for the body. They are not going to give any satisfaction to the soul, the real person that we are. The satisfaction that we will get is when we connect ourselves to Krishna and have this love affair with Krishna. We should develop that. This is called bhakti, in Sanskrit. Our devotional service to Krishna. That is what will give us real happiness. Our guru's guru, our spiritual master's spiritual master, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he said, life without love is poor and useless, they say. O Lord, employ me in thy service, with love as my pay. So, people say, oh, life without love is useless and poor. But, so Krishna, please employ me in your service with love as my pay. So, he wants to just serve Krishna. So that is real love. I mean, all kinds of so-called love affairs in this material world are just lusty affairs. Because what is the difference between lust and love? Lust means when I want to be happy in a relationship. When in the material world, this phrase goes around a lot, I love you. But what does it actually mean? We say I love you, then we also say I love the chicken, I love the this and that. What do we love? What is that love? So when a man says, oh, I love you to a woman and kisses her, and he says I love you to a chicken, and then he will eat it. So what actually he's loving? He wants to enjoy. So with the woman, he wants to enjoy romantic affairs. With the chicken, he wants to enjoy his tongue. So it's actually when we say I love you, or I love this place, or I love, that means what? I am enjoying here. I'm really enjoying here. That's what it really means. It doesn't mean anything. I may make the other person happy just so that I can be happy. So that is called lust. In Bengali it is said, there is a verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita which says, Atmendriya priti vancha taranam kam. Krishnendriya priti ichha dhare premanam. So lust and love is defined very nicely. When I want to satisfy my senses, that is lust. My senses and my mind, that is lust. It's not just a sexual lust. We're talking about lust means anything that where my self-satisfaction is at the center of it all. Even though I may mask it or camouflage it or package it in a way that is selfless. Say, for example, I sacrifice my life for my country. Yeah, but for your country. Why not other countries? Because you're attached. Oh, I want to sacrifice my life for my family. Why your family? Because you're attached. It is actually again self-satisfaction. There is a my involved there. It may not be so obvious in the beginning, but actually we want to be happy in these activities. So Atmendriya Priti Vancha, the desire to satisfy one's own senses and mind, that is kama, lust. Krishnendriya Priti Ichha Dhare Premnam. Prema, love, is actually only possible with Krishna. We cannot truly love anyone in this material world. It is not possible actually. Love means to only be caring for the other party's happiness, which is not at all possible in this material world. With Krishna, it is possible. Pure devotional service is to have zero self-satisfaction desire, only to satisfy Krishna. Even at the cost of my happiness, Krishna should be happy. If Krishna becomes happy by putting me in misery, let it be so. That is my greatest happiness because he is happy. So that is the real love. So there is hardly found, the closest we can find in this material world, the closest we can find to the love is the mother's love for the child. So mother's affection for the child is almost selfless. Of course, there is some selfishness involved because eventually she wants something. When the child grows up, she wants something from the child, or some sort of reciprocation. But at least in the beginning, when the child is just born, she is just selflessly serving the child. Nowadays, sometimes they don't do it, but usually real motherly affection is, any woman, when she has a child, she will have some, motherly affection. She will want to serve the child. So that is what we have to understand, that real love is actually possible only with Krishna. So there are many examples where pure devotees have completely given up all kinds of self-satisfactory desires and just served Krishna. and attain all perfection. And the beauty of that is, when one is that selfless, one will actually become happy. I'll show you the exact opposite is true in this material world. See, there's an interesting verse. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, Sukhaya Dukkha Mokshaya Sankalpa Iha Karminaha Sadapnotiha Ya Dukkham Anihayaha Sukhavritaha. In this material world, every materialist desires to achieve happiness and diminish his distress, and therefore he acts accordingly. Actually, however, one is happy as long as one does not endeavor for happiness. As soon as one begins his activities for happiness, his conditions of distress begin. So, this is a paradox. I mean, we are starting our actions for happiness, and that's when our miseries actually start. When one is happy as long as he does not endeavor for happiness. Because the anxiety to reach the state of happiness that we have defined happiness, and there is where I have to go, then we have to now chase that. And that is a whole deal of trouble. All kinds of troubles ensue in that journey. So that is the reality of this material world. So how to stay in this position where I don't chase these things? How to be content with what we have? At the same time, cultivate, make use of our time in achieving this greatest treasure of life, which is love of God. Only in that state we will be actually happy. So before we go there, we have seen the four principal miseries: birth, death, old age, disease. Now let's see the three types of miseries. The three types of miseries are adhyatmik, adhidaivik, adhyatmik, adhibhautik, adhidaivik. So adhyatmik miseries means miseries caused by my own mind and body. I have created those problems for myself. So that's adhyatmic miseries. Like for example, if I'm walking and I tripped on something and fell. Now I did not see properly. It was my mistake. Or sometimes we bite our own tongue and we get angry about it. But actually, what can we do about it? It's our own mistake. So it's caused by ourselves. Or our mind sometimes tricks us into miserable situation, miserable thoughts. So this is adhyatmic miseries. Then there are adhibhautik miseries, the miseries which are caused by others, other living entities. For example, our neighbors, our friends, our colleagues, our enemies, even a mosquito. For example, we are sitting nicely and then mosquito comes and bites and passes malaria to us. I mean, we were doing nothing, but malaria came. Now I have to suffer because of some mosquito. So similarly, people may give us problems. In workplace there are so many politics that go on around, and similarly, so these are adhibhautik miseries. It may come in the form of other living entities. Then there are adhidaivik miseries, miseries that are from the demigods, from natural source, natural disturbances like earthquake, tsunami, or typhoon. What is it called? Storm, typhoon. So these kind of stuff. So these are humans have no control over it at all. So they are adhidaivik miseries. They are actually under the control of the demigods, the devatas, the higher beings. We see that it's some geographical disturbances and therefore this earthquake happened. Yeah, it's true. But they are not automatically happening. So there are personalities who govern these higher management, which we humans don't have any control of. So just like, for example, in this Singapore is quite an orderly country. Crime rate very low and quite orderly. It's quite safe in that sense. Now there are many cats and dogs in Singapore. They're having a good life. If they were in the wild, if this country was a wild forest, they would have a hell of a time. They would have all kinds of wild animals attacking them, and they'll have competition everywhere. But they're having a good time now because of proper government here. But they have zero idea how they're having such a good life. They never experienced bad life. They never experienced life in the wild. But that is because of the government, and then all those wild animals are out of reach. I mean, they're not anywhere close. So they're having a good time. So we are having kind of a good time, at least in Singapore. And we have our own human arrangements, our government of this world. But things like atmosphere, weather, climate, we can't affect these things. We can't. If a storm comes, we can't do anything about it, and we can't control storm. Okay, let us move the storm from this place to that place and divert it. We can't do anything about it. We just have to, if it is rain, then I have to just hold an umbrella to at least keep myself dry for a little bit. But we can't do much more than that. So just as the animals have no idea that there is a government, a human government, because of which they're having some level of comfort, we humans don't have any idea how the devatas, the demigods, they are making arrangements for us. Like, for example, sunlight. We are taking these things for granted. If there was no sunlight, if there's no orbit of the sun, and if there's no orbit of the earth and everything, there will be no timely sunlight. I mean, there's no timely rainfall, there's no seasons. We can't predict anything. The reason we can predict these things is because there is some order, there is some pattern. We're recognizing the patterns and we are seeing, okay, this is what is going to happen. So we are relying on a system which is not set by us. Then who set it? Oh, nature. They said Mother Nature. When they don't understand something, nature, universe. Where universe has any brain? God. So there is a personal touch to it. A person has to be behind all this. And God, Krishna, he deputed these tasks to different devatas, various devatas. There's one demigod in charge of the rain, one in charge of the sun, one in charge of the moon. So all these planets have their own superintendents, like ministers of the universal management, and they have these certain departments. So in this way, everything is arranged. So they also not only give facilities for our maintenance, but also if we are unruly, they will also bring forth punishments. Like these earthquakes, these tsunami and all these things, they are not just like accidental happenings. They are the results of accumulated karma. And at once, vast amounts of population are wiped out. These are all karmic reactions actually. There were times in history under the rule of King Parikshit, King Yudhishthira, or Lord Ramachandra. There were times in which there was absolute absence of any misery, not even death. People did not even die, they only died when they wanted to. And there was no natural disturbances, not just no natural disturbances, there were abundant natural supplies. So many, the rain produced so many pearls. There is actually much more subtle signs of how pearls are formed. We know from oyster and all these things, but there is more than that. If rain falls at an opportune moment in time, when planets are aligned properly, there will be pearls, there will be gemstones in the ground, there will be so many things. Hills will be full of these minerals. And this science, modern people, scientists, they don't understand very much. But, these things are there. They only know that these gemstones are formed by crystallization of, underground. They only know that part. But actually, it's not just some accidental happenings. They are happening because of a certain reason, and our Vedic scriptures have descriptions of why and how and when these exactly happen. So there were times where these were abundant in nature, and people had not even people, even the animals did not have any anxiety. Praja, citizens means one who lives in a country, and it's not just the humans. In our Vedic understanding, even the animals are citizens of the country. Not that I take care of the human citizens and kill the animals. That's not a proper government. Government means you have to take care of everybody, even the animals. So even animals did not have any problem. So that is the level of government one should have. ideal government. Now it is far from that, but yeah. So anyway, there are these three miseries. So if you think, oh, okay, birth, old age, disease, and death. Okay, that's quite far apart, all right. The rest of the life is fine. But no. The rest of the life is interspersed with these three kinds of miseries. Adhyatmik, adhibhautik, adhidaivik. Miseries caused by my own body and mind, miseries caused by other living entities, and miseries caused by natural disturbances, by the demigods. So, my entire life is full of problems. Hardly any time I can get which is devoid of these problems. So, these are the miseries that we have in life. See? So, we kind of answered that question. What are the real miseries? So, why do we suffer? Is the next question. We are supposed to go to, one second. We are supposed to go to how a person who has controlled his mind deal with these disturbances, deal with these miseries. Yeah, maybe, you know what, we will go through that first, because then it will be a good continuation of the topic. Okay, so let's see how tolerant. First, Krishna says one must be tolerant. One must be resilient and tolerant and not be too much carried away by the disturbances. Matra sparshaastu kaunteya shitoshna sukha dukkhadaah agamapayino nityastam stitikshasva bharata. O son of Kunti, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress and their disappearance in due course are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception, O scion of Bharata, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. Now here Krishna is saying that we have to tolerate not only the difficult circumstances but also the so-called comfortable circumstances, because both are distractions from our real goal of attaining love of God, which is the real aim of life. When we have miserable conditions, yeah, it's a distraction, we are so much affected. When we are in a happy situation, we are also distracted from our real goal. So both we have to tolerate. It's not just the failures, but also the successes that we go through. That also is a distraction. The happiness that comes with the so-called enjoyment. People enjoy their life, just like, doing different things. But actually, that's a distraction. We're really forgetting ourselves, who we are and what we're supposed to do with life. It's a distraction. Real happiness is had when we actually connect with God. We develop our loving relationship with God. That's when real happiness one can taste. Apart from that, whatever happiness we do taste is actually only a momentary relief from suffering. It's not real happiness. It's not real happiness. Only when you have tasted this real happiness, then you can see what real happiness is. Until then, what you defined as happiness is not at all happiness. It's just a temporary absence of suffering. The example is given. This was about 250 years ago, at least until 250 years ago. This was a punishment that was given to thieves in India by some of the kings. So, what they used to do, if there was a thief, then if he's convicted, then he'll have many different punishments in prison, but also this is one of the punishments. So he will be taken by 4 strong men so that he can't really do anything, can't escape or can't. So they will take him to the river and they will dunk his head into the water and keep it there. And he will try to come out. But they're so strong, these men, and then they will just put him there. And when he's almost out of breath and really struggling, then they will release his head for a while. Then he will come up. And then 5 seconds, put him back again. And they'll do this repeatedly for 1 to 2 hours. Imagine what kind of suffering he will go through, what kind of, So, when it's into 20 minutes into this, when he's going in, then he'll want to, frantically come out. But then he will realize after some time, there's no point in me fighting. I'm only becoming more tired. So, you know what? I'll just surrender. I'll just be down. And when they want to lift me up, they'll lift me up. And let me enjoy that moment. So when he comes out, those 5-10 seconds that he's up, he thinks, That was good. That was good. Oh, again, dunk. So this is what material life looks like. So those 10 seconds, which are, when the guy is up, we think that is happiness. Oh, there's no misery. Oh, I'm able to breathe. Okay, I'm happy. But actually, it is just waiting to come again, waiting to hit at us again. So that is the miserable condition that our material life is. It's very, very brief moments of momentary relief that we have, and we define that as happiness. But when we start to experience the love of God, and we serve Krishna in devotional service, then we start to realize a whole new definition of what is happiness. 1 second. Real satisfaction. Like, for example, we devotees in this temple, in our movement, we don't have salaries. We don't work. I mean, we work for Krishna, but we don't have any, remuneration or anything like that. But we have been working like that for, at least for myself, how many years now? 15, 16 years. Not a single cent salary, but happiness, I will never trade this for any job. So no amount of salary can give me this happiness. So that is the beauty of Krishna consciousness. This is transcendental to material happiness and distress. Now, let's see some of the examples of how great devotees, they deal with disturbing circumstances. How do they perceive and how do they react? Let's see. First of all, before even reacting, they observe others suffering. And first of all, don't participate. They don't even sign up for the troublesome situation. Because people have a fetish for trouble in this material world. They really ask for trouble. So let me show you something. And then they wonder why my life is full of troubles. They actually sign up for it. You see, this is an intelligent person, a self-realized soul, who refrained from participating in, troublesome affairs just by looking at the troubles of others. So he said, Tatrapi dampatinam cha sukhayanyapanuttaye karmani kurvatam drishtva nivrittosmi viparyayam. In this human form of life, men and women unite for the sensual pleasure of sex. But by actual experience, we have observed that none of them are happy. Therefore, seeing the contrary results, I have stopped taking part in materialistic activities. Now, this is not possible for everyone, but people go for this, they sign up for this, right? We all sign up for this. I think this is another one. Yeah. Shri Prabuddha Uvacha Karmanyaram Arabhamananam Dukkha Hatyai Sukhaya Cha Pashyet Paka Viparyasam Mithuni Charinam Nirnam. Shri Prabuddha said, accepting the roles of male and female in human society, the conditioned souls unite in sexual relationships. Thus, they constantly make material endeavors to eliminate their unhappiness and unlimitedly increase their pleasure. But one should see that they inevitably achieve exactly the opposite result. In other words, their happiness inevitably vanishes, and as they grow older, their material discomfort increases. So, what do the intelligent people do? They stay away. First of all, don't participate. So this is why the monks, they give up on sense gratification, because there's no point. Why should I sign up for this? So they, focus their life on achieving love of God. And that's why they take up monkhood. Of course, not everybody can do this, but it's not that the others are absolutely, hey, those are not monks, we're all just, signed up for trouble and we're just going to have trouble. No, there is a way out of that as well. I'll show you. So, you see, this is what spiritualists they do. Yehi samsparshaja bhoga dukkha yonaya evate adyantavantah kaunteya nateshu ramate buddha. An intelligent person does not take part in the sources of misery. which are due to contact with material senses. O son of Kunti, such pleasures have a beginning and an end, and so the wise man does not delight in them. You see, this is a wise man. When we understand that this endeavor is not worth it, yeah, it's a great deal of trouble, but also, even if I achieve the success that I define as success, even if I achieve it, it's going to be gone. So why? Why should I? For example, we see some daredevil stuntmen, or people who take to extreme sports. For example, like skydiving, or even worse, this what is this paragliding? What paragliding is that, sir? That the wingsuit gliding. They'll do this. They will jump off the cliff with a wingsuit, and then they will go. It's very, very risky. You just touch something and you're broken. Your body is broken to fragments, and you die immediately, immediate death. But they do these things for thrill. They sign up for all kinds of trouble just for that thrill, because their life is so boring. They want something to get a kick out of their life. So they do these things. They call it adventure. You know what? I have this adventure spirit, but actually they're just wasting their life. The valuable human life, they're just throwing away. I'm not only talking about sports. Actually, every single endeavor is like this. You know what happened once? Our spiritual master Prabhupada, he was taking a walk in the morning, early morning, and he was somewhere in the west, I think Los Angeles or somewhere. So he was taking a walk in the morning, and he was with his disciples. He was about 70 plus at the time, 70 plus years old, and he was walking, and then he was walking in a park, and this man, a little bit of an elderly gentleman, maybe in his 50s or something like that. So he was playing golf early morning. So he was like, aiming at the hole and like hitting it. And Prabhupada saw that, and Prabhupada was shedding tears. Why? Prabhupada said, you look at this man. It's so valuable life. He got this after millions of years. He's a great treasure. In this life he can make all solution. But he's wasting his entire time just trying to put the ball in the hole. And he has no other aim in life. He's just putting the ball in the hole, wasting his time. So, avyartha kalatam, this is another thing about a person who is spiritually advanced. He doesn't like to waste his time. We have limited time in this human body. And with that, we have to make complete solution of our problems. So we don't have much time. We think we have. We don't even know how much we have. But we act like we have infinite time with us, and then we just waste our time in unnecessary things, which are not so very, very frivolous. This is called a frivolous life. Very frivolous life. So let's now look at how self-realized, those who are spiritually advanced, how they navigate tough situations in life. Especially when, others cause these. Is this one? No, this is not the one. What is this? Okay. Tiraskrita vipralabdha shapta क्षिप्ता हता अपि नास्य तत्प्रतिकुर्वन्ति तद्भक्ताः प्रभवोपिः. See, prabhavopihi. This means the devotees are quite powerful to counteract any distressing conditions, but they don't bother. They don't waste time. The devotees of the Lord are so forbearing that even though they are defamed, cheated, cursed, disturbed, neglected, or even killed, they are never inclined to avenge themselves. Don't really bother. Let's take another example. Let's take another shloka. This is this one. Kshipto vamanito sadbhihi प्रलब्धो सूयितोऽथवा ताडितः सन्निरुद्धो वा वृत्त्या वा परिहापितः निष्ठ्युतो मूत्रितो वाग्ञैर् बहुधैवं प्रकम्पितः श्रेयस्कामः कृच्छ्रगत आत्मनात्मानमुद्धरेत्. Even though neglected, insulted, ridiculed, or envied by bad men, or even though repeatedly agitated by being beaten, tied up, or deprived of one's occupation, spat upon, or polluted with urine by ignorant people, one who desires the highest goal in life should, in spite of all these difficulties, use his intelligence to keep himself safe on the spiritual platform. What is intelligence? Using intelligence to be safe on the spiritual platform. That means don't get distracted from your aim. There are too many causes to distract you, but however great they may be, don't be distracted. Focus on your. That is spiritually safe. Never forgetting Krishna at any moment. Always remembering Krishna, never forgetting Him, no matter what the circumstance. That is love of God. That is possible with love. See, when you are in troublesome situations, whom do you think of? Your loved ones. So, similarly, if our loved one is Krishna, God, then we will think of Him at the troublesome situation. So in that way, we will be always focused. You see what happened here. Another example. This is quite... this is in prose actually, it's not poetry. I will just read the translation of it in English to save time. Now you see here, Rishabhdev. Now he was a incarnation of Krishna, but he came as a king and he was showing everybody how to live an ideal life. So when he was a king, he ruled perfectly and he had 100 sons and all of them were saintly. All of them. He trained them very nicely. Now, after having trained them up nicely, then he left the kingdom and became a monk, a mendicant. And then this is how he led his life after that. Rishabhdev began to tour through cities, villages, mines, countrysides, valleys, gardens, military camps, cow pens, the homes of cowherd men, transient hotels, hills, forests, and hermitages. Wherever he traveled, all bad elements surrounded him, just as flies surround the body of an elephant coming from a forest. He was always being threatened, beaten, urinated upon, and spat upon. Sometimes people threw stones, stool, and dust at him. And sometimes people passed foul air before him. Thus people called him many bad names and gave him a great deal of trouble. But he did not care about this, for he understood that the body is simply meant for such an end. He was situated on the spiritual platform and being in his spiritual glory, he did not care for all these material insults. In other words, he completely understood that matter and spirit are separate and he had no bodily conception. Thus, without being angry at anyone, he walked through the whole world alone. So this was Rishabhdev. Now he was being, can we imagine? What kind of tolerance levels those are? But let me show you how they feel. For us, they're tolerating all these things, right? But tolerance is when you feel the misery, when you feel the pain, but then you put up with it and, we don't react to it or we subdue our reaction. That's tolerance. But a person who's really spiritually very advanced, he has a different viewpoint of it altogether. You see, this is how he feels. From outside looking at him, it looks like, oh, he's in a pitiful condition. But actually, for him, this is how he feels it. Deham chanashvaram avasthitam utthitam va siddho na pashyati gyato dhyagamat swarupam daivadapetam atha daiva vashadupetam vaso yatha parikritam madiramadandha. It's a beautiful verse. It says, Just as a drunken man does not notice if he is wearing his coat or shirt, similarly, one who is perfect in self realization and who has thus achieved his eternal identity does not notice whether the temporary body is sitting or standing. Indeed, if by God's will the body is finished, or if by God's will he obtains a new body, a self realized soul does not notice, just as a drunken man does not notice the situation of his outward dress. Now, for us, he looks like, oh wow, this is like so much insult. Like, how is he putting up with this? No, he's not even putting up with it. He does not notice it is there. So, that is the level of their consciousness. They are so far removed, so far aloof from the worldly situation that nothing bothers them. It's because they are that detached. As I earlier said, attachment is the cause of problems, and detachment is the cause of liberation. There's a nice story, very short story, but it's very instructive. It's not even like maybe a few sentences long only. So there was this bird, a hawk. Hawk, as you know, he will, he subsists on flesh. So what happened? So this hawk is this. It is worse than actually in the. I think let me try to take it out. I don't know if I can find it. Just give me a second here. This is the verse. Okay, let me show you. Let me share the screen. Okay, you see here 11:9:2. Samisham kuraram jaghnur balinonye niramishaha tadamisham parityajya sa sukham samavindata. The whole story is in this one verse. So once a group of large hawks who were unable to find any prey attacked another weaker hawk who was holding some meat. At that time, being in danger of his life, the hawk gave up his meat and experienced actual happiness. Now what happened? This hawk he found some meat. Then he grabbed this with his beak, or with his claws, and then he was flying. And it was quite, nobody was getting any food. So all the hawks saw this and they started to attack this hawk because they want a piece of that meat. Because they're so hungry, they're desperate. And at that time, as he was flying, with the so much weight on your body, you can't fly as fast as the others who did not have any weight on them. So they were closing in on him, and he was flying and flying, and he was so much anxiety, like tens and hundreds of hawks are after him, eagles and vultures, everybody was after him. And then he was also hungry. But then as he was going, he knew that he would be dead. At that time, he just released the meat. He released that dead body that was in his claws, and then he flew away. And suddenly he saw nobody was after him. Nobody. And then he attained happiness. So this is how our material life is. We're always carrying this burden, like the hawk was carrying this burden. We're attached to the burden. The hawk was attached to that meat. And as long as he was attached, he had so much to deal with, so much trouble to deal with. As soon as he gave that up, no anxiety. Nobody was after him. Yeah. So, there is another example of how we can learn that attachment is the cause of our problems. The more we can let go, the more we will be happy. But it's not easy to let go. Because to be able to let go of material circumstances and relationships and attachments, we have to transfer our attachment to Krishna. We can't suck out the attachment and then everything is just vacuum now. There's a vacuum in our life. No, we can't live in a vacuum. We have to replace our attachment to material things with attachment to Krishna. We have to be attached to Krishna, and that's when we will be able to seriously detach ourselves from all material attachments. We have to be attached. Let me frame it the other way. We cannot escape being attached. Because we can only be detached completely if we are completely independent of everything. But we are not. Our existence depends upon the Lord and supplies from the Lord. Even monks, so-called detached people, where do they live? Still in the material world, right? Still they eat food, right? They depend on many things. They want water, they want food, they still need these things. So how to conduct ourselves in such a way that we are detached, but we are attached to Krishna, and use things as much as is just necessary to maintain the body and soul together, so that we can stay healthy and engage ourselves in the service of God, and thus helping others as well. So the real welfare activity in this material world is when a person enlightens others about the signs of God, because that will give the greatest relief for everyone. A person who is suffering, he is suffering because he is disconnected from God. He is a child of God. His father is the richest person. I mean, he owns everything. But he is suffering. The son is suffering. Why? Because he has left the protection of the father. Now, if he just goes back to the protection of his father, there's no. I mean, look at the elephants. They are eating 50 kilos a day food, but they are being maintained. They don't work hard like, in an office or something like that. No, they don't have much intelligence compared to humans. They do have good memory, but they not have much intelligence. But still they're being maintained. Even elephants, 50 kilos a day. We only eat how much? Why we don't have enough in this world? Why we have to work so hard? Actually, we don't need to. Just like the ass, the donkey, when he is domesticated, then he is, the master gives a little grass to the donkey, and then he makes him work hard. So make him work so hard. So much load on him and all that. But then the donkey thinks, oh, I have to work hard for this master because he will give me some grass. But that grass he can get anywhere. But he thinks only this master will give me. So he will work for him, however hard. So this is ass mentality, donkey mentality. So we think like that. Oh, if I don't work in the corporate world, then I will have a problem. So we are so attached to that. But anyway, if we transfer our attachment to Krishna, then we can become detached from materialistic life. Then we can be actually happy. Because our relationship with Krishna will not fade over time, it will only increase with time. Ever increasing love. Okay, so what is the next question? Why do we suffer? So the law of karma. So I think I have already touched upon this yesterday. So the law of karma is whatever action we perform, we will get a reaction. And aprarabdha phalam papam kutam bijam phalon mukham kramenaiva praliyeta vishnu bhakti ratatmanam. So this idea is briefly mentioned in the Bible. As you sow, so shall you reap. If you sow a mango seed, you will get a mango tree and a mango fruit. If you sow an apple seed, then you will get an apple tree and apple fruit. Orange. So like that. So as you sow, so shall you reap. What is the meaning? Whatever actions you do, that kind of reactions you will get. So now, we wish each other Happy New Year, Happy Birthday, Happy this, Happy that, Happy this. We like to wish happy times for ourselves and others. But then our actions, the seeds that we are sowing, are all full of sins. Like every breakfast, lunch and dinner, we are killing an animal or a bird. Now, when we give trouble, so that's the seed of sin we have sown. It is bound to give a miserable fruit. And when we taste that, that's when we suffer. So we sow the seeds of sin and expect the fruit of piety. It's like sowing an orange seed and expecting a watermelon to come out. How are you going to get it? You're not going to get it. It's not going to happen that way. We wish, I wish I would get a watermelon today. Today I feel like I want a banana. I'm not going to get by sowing the same nonsense orange seed. I have to plant. Sow those seeds which I want the fruit of. So if I keep on committing sins and I want all happiness, what am I doing here? I have zero understanding of how things work. Which fool will think that he will sow an apple seed and expect an orange? What do you call such a person? An idiot. So we are being idiots by wishing each other Happy New Year, Happy this. And nowadays, especially in this part of the world, every part of the world there are weird. I don't know whether to feel hilarious or whether it's hilarious or whether it's actually painful. It's a bit of both. Because, for example, in the Western world, there is this Thanksgiving ceremony, and let's celebrate Thanksgiving. And what is a thanks? Kill one turkey or a bunch of turkeys, and then that is Thanksgiving. Happy New Year, and in this now it's just past the Chinese New Year. Kill the pig. I feel sorry for the pigs and the turkeys and the goats. In some religion, goats are slaughtered, cows are slaughtered. I mean, they're celebrating with killing, and they say happy New Year, happy this and that. Where are you going to get happiness? Where are you going to get any happiness? You give suffering to others, you will get happiness. Is that not a bit too optimistic? It's delusional. Optimistic to the point of delusional. So we have to recognize that, and we complain about terrorism. Oh, terrorism. What are we doing to the animals? We are terrorists for the animals. Every day by the billions we are killing. By the billions. And then we say, oh, we have to, we should not have terrorists. Oh, they are terrorists, they are terrorists. We all are terrorists. If we eat animals, then we are terrorists. For the animals, we are terrorists. If some big monster comes and eats us, how do we like? We are that big monster for the animals. So, how can we expect happiness? Oh, so let's be honest. I mean, let's look at it from an objective standpoint. When I give trouble to others, I should treat others as I would like to be treated. That is called a wise man. Atmavat sarva bhuteshu, in Sanskrit it is called. If I like to be treated nice, I should treat others nice. And others means not just human beings, animals also. Why not? So that's what we have to understand. So these are very important things. You see. So why do we suffer? Because we do all these things. We commit, and then we blame others. Oh, somebody did some black magic on me. Somebody did this on me. So, what are you doing? You're doing nothing. You're the saint. Is that so? That's not a fact. I'm not a saint. I think I am, because I don't know what is correct, what is wrong, what is to be done and what is not to be done. And therefore, I totally absolve myself of all responsibility of my suffering and blame everybody else. So that's where the real suffering is coming, because we don't recognize, a madman, when you go to the psychiatrist, or I don't know, psychologist, I think Renuka Mataji will know, she studies psychology. So I always mix up, I always use these terms interchangeably, but psychiatrist I think is with medicine and the psychologist is by counseling or something like that. So one of these who counsels, so he will see whether how much he can help this person. Now, the first thing is, that person can be helped if he understands at least that he has a problem. If he is delusional and thinks he has absolutely no problem, you can't help that person. And a madman, he should know that at least he's mad. He has a problem with his mind, he needs some help. But if he thinks he's completely alright and there's nothing wrong with him, you can't save that person. As they say, you can bring the horse to the trough, but you can't make it drink. That's how it is. So he must realize himself that, when we say he, I'm referring to ourselves. We have to realize ourselves that I have a problem. I have a problem. I'm not the saint that I thought I was. So I have to realize that I have to change. Like there is a nice saying, people pray to God to remove their troublesome situations, not knowing that God engineered those situations to change us. We don't want to change. We want to remain the same rascal that we always were. And then we want the situation to change and we pray to God, please remove the situation. God engineered the situation to change us. We want the situation to be changed, but God wants us to change. So we don't realize, we think, I'm perfect, why is this happening to me? It shouldn't happen to me. Take it out. God, please take it out. This is my demand to God. If I ever go to a church or a mosque or a temple, please remove my miseries. That's exactly what God comes to here to do. He wants to remove our miseries. But no, we are adamant to stay with our misery. We have a fetish, as I said, for trouble. We want trouble. Why my life is not troublesome? Let me do some adventure. Let me jump off a cliff. I'm too boring, there's no trouble here. You jump off a cliff. This is my adventure. I want trouble in my life. Otherwise, I have a problem. I have a fetish. Addicted to trouble. So this is our problem. So if you really want, and then we question, hey, why is my life full of trouble? You ask for it. So we should know these things, and we will have a much more clearer picture about this. The problem why we don't see it is we are covered by Maya. Maya means this illusion of this material world. Krishna has created this world in such a way. This world is a prison house, but you don't see the bars of the prison house. Prison, there's bars. There's, you're locked up. Here you can go, go wherever you want, right? So it doesn't look like a prison. It looks like, I can go to this country and that country. Oh, that's beautiful. I'm enjoying the sunrise, the sunset, this mountains, this scenery, and this and that, this and that. Or sometimes it's just, eating something or drinking something or having a nice chat with someone. We feel we're enjoying, you see. So Krishna created this material world without a bar, without any lock. Because we ourselves want to be here. In the prison, they want to escape, and therefore there is a need of this lock. But here, we don't want to escape. Krishna is coming, please come out. Krishna is coming into this world, sending his messenger, sending his son, sending his scriptures, so that we can actually take to it and come out. He's giving us the escape routes. Hey, come on here. This is the escape route out of this material world. Come to my world. There is no birth and death, no suffering. Come to me. We criticize that God, and then we say there is no God. The scriptures are all some crap. All this acharya, all this religious life is all some waste of time. We are adamant to be here. That's why there is no need of any bars. We want to be here. That is how this illusion is of this material world. We don't want to go out of this. So this can be changed if we are armed with knowledge. Then this karmic bondage will be cut to pieces. That's why knowledge is so important. And knowledge from God, from the perfect source. Don't take this hearsay knowledge or somebody just croaking like a frog, as we say. They talk something which has no sense. In the ultimate issue, there's no sense. All these motivational speakers, they come up with all kinds of things. But yeah, they say virtuous things, but you cannot attain that virtuous thing if you are not God conscious. You cannot. In fact, when you become God conscious, you automatically have all good qualities without even an extraneous endeavor to achieve them. You will automatically have all good qualities. See, there is a verse also, Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavatta kinchana sarvair gunaistatra samasate suraha harava bhaktasya kuto mahadguna manorathena sati dhavato bahi. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a verse like this. So what is the meaning? Whoever has become a devotee of Krishna, a devotee of God, he automatically has all good qualities in him. He will automatically become humble, he will automatically become compassionate, he will automatically become tolerant, he will automatically help others, because he knows that everybody is suffering for want of this knowledge. So he will spread this knowledge to save everyone. That's his mission in life. He's not interested in this world, but he will travel all over the world only to educate them, not for his own sense gratification. He is not interested in seeing all the beautiful sceneries. Yeah, he will appreciate God's creation, but he will look at the people who are suffering and educate them. Why should I just have this privilege of being able to connect with God? Why should others not have this privilege? Human life is meant for this. I should give them the chance. So that's how he preaches. So he knows how to conduct himself in this world, and he is fully happy, even in this miserable world. So that's a gist of why do we suffer, and why does God allow it if he loves us? So why does God allow our suffering? So we're closing in. Okay, so 9:45 here, 8:45 there. Okay, so why do we suffer? Why does God allow this? That's a good question. So a good parent would actually punish a child who is naughty. If he is, suppose, If a child comes back to the mother and says, "Mummy, I brought this, this toy from my friend's house," and she will ask, "Did you ask him?" "No, no, no. When he was looking that side, I just came with this toy." If she is a good mother, she will tell that, "No, you cannot steal. You should not steal. This is very bad. This is extremely wrong. You should not steal. Would you like it if somebody stole your toy?" So she will explain to him. And if he is insistent and is persistent in his, stealing and all that, she will eventually punish, or even the father will come to task, put him to task. So he will punish him, he will even slap him, punish him and physically. So that is actually good. That means that the parents actually care for the child, because they don't want him to become a rascal when he grows up. They want to make him a good person. When the father or mother does not do anything and let him, "Oh, you brought this toy? How? Oh, you stole from me? Oh, very good, my boy, very good." Then what kind of mother is he? What kind of mother is she and what kind of father is he? So that is not good. So Krishna punishes us for our wrongdoings, and that is good, because he wants us to change. Because when we have suffering, then we start to question, hey, what is life? Have you ever seen a person who is just swimming in happiness, swimming in success, and like all kinds of facilities of material sense gratification and at his fingertips? Have you ever seen such a person actually really questioning about life? I have not. If he really questions, he will question for the sake of questioning, but he's not really serious about it, because he's quite comfortable in his distraction of happiness. But a person who is miserable, he will really question his life, like, why is this happening? Why? So there is a sense of hopelessness that will will prod his questioning. And there's a nice couple of verses by Kunti Devi. Kunti Devi is mother of the Pandavas in Mahabharata. She was the mother of Pandavas. She's a very great saintly woman. And her 5 sons always were harassed by their cousins. They were both of royal families. They were actually cousins. Their fathers were brothers. So they both were cousins. So now there was this family feud, and then the Kauravas, who were 100 sons, and here 5 sons. So these cousins. So these 100, the Kauravas, they were always on the wrong path, always against these 5. So they're always harassing them, trying to even kill them, so that they can have the kingdom for themselves and not share it with their cousins. Because actually their cousins were the real heir apparent. After their father passed away, they were supposed to be become the kings of the planet, and emperor of the planet, and then they were supposed to be subordinate kings. These 100 are supposed to be subordinate kings under them, but they did not want this. They wanted to be the supreme controller, emperor. So they always were harassing them. Since childhood, they were thinking of this, how to get rid of them, and then we can have the whole kingdom for ourselves. So in this way they were thinking. And this Kunti Devi was the mother of these 5, and they lost their father early in their life, and so she was a widow, and then she had these 5 children. So now, this is what she said. This is what she went through in her life, and then after that, she was a great devotee of Krishna. And then this is what she said. Let's look at those 2 verses. विशान महाग्नेः पुरुषाद दर्शनात् असत्सभाया वनवास कृच्छ्रतः मृधे मृधेनेकं महारथास्त्रतो द्रौण्यस्त्रतश्चास्म हरेभिरक्षिताः. My dear Krishna, your lordship has protected us from a poisoned cake. They gave a cake. Oh, let's celebrate, we'll give you a cake on your birthday, and then they poisoned it actually. And that time, Bhima, they were small boys. And at that time itself, they were so vicious. Just imagine. From a great fire, you have protected us from a poison cake. So what happened after he was poisoned, that boy, he drowned, one of the 5 brothers, the strongest of them all, the second one. So Bhima, he drowned after that in the water, and then the snakes bit him, and that acted as a antidote to the poison, and then he was actually saved. So anyway, so Krishna arranged all this thing, saved his devotees from all the harassment that they meted out to them. So poison cake, that was one. From a great fire. So this was another issue where they sent them for a holiday to this tourist location that they built, and they made them stay in this palace which was made of lac, a very inflammable substance. And then they set fire. They had people who set fire to the whole thing. But of course, one of them who knew Vidura, so he arranged a tunnel for them to escape. Before the thing could be set on fire and they be burned there, they escaped. So Krishna arranged for all these things. From cannibals, so yeah, they were in the forest actually. And then they had to even meet with demons who were cannibals, very very strong, and then Bhima actually killed him. So that was a very great danger. From the vicious assembly, so that's another thing where the Kauravas, the 100 sons, the cousins, they tried to disrobe the wife of these 5 gentlemen. So they had a common wife, and then each of them had their own wives as well. They had one wife who was common to all 5 of them. So that was a special circumstance. Usually it's not the norm, but in that case, she was like that. But anyway, she was being disrobed. There's a whole backstory for why that is the case. But anyway, she was disrobed in the assembly. They were trying to get her naked in front of everyone. But then Krishna supplied unlimited sari, and then she never became naked. Her honor was protected. And then from sufferings during our exile in the forest, so they were banished into exile into the forest for 14 years. And life in the forest is not easy. So that was, and from the battle where great generals fought, there was this huge battle. That Bhagavad Gita conversation was just before the war started. And that war was a fratricidal war where all cousins on both sides, everyone died, but no, not the Pandavas, but the relatives on both sides died. So many massive, it is said that 640 million people died in 18 days. 640 million men died. That was big, the battle was that big. So, and now you say, I have saved us from the weapon of Ashwatthama. So Ashwatthama is, one of them. So he threw a arrow with a mantra targeting only the remaining descendants of the dynasty so that they will not get it. So Parikshit, this boy was in the womb of the mother, and it was going to attack him, then Krishna saved him from that as well. So in that way they were always protected by Krishna. And then after going through everything, when she was saying these words to Krishna, Krishna was actually beside her and she was talking to Krishna. And she was 110 years old at the time, at least 110 years old. Okay? And her life was full of all these challenges. Now, we wouldn't even be able to take even any fraction of it. But she went through all of this, and also she was a woman. Men are more, they can take more pain, they can take more challenges in life. Fortitude, they're more stable in distressing situations. But she being a woman, but she was so strong because of her devotion to Krishna. This is what she said in the next verse. Vipadaha santo taha shashvat tatra tatra jagat guru bhavato darshanam yat syad apunar bhava darshanam. I wish that all those calamities would happen again and again, so that we could see you again and again. See you means you with a capital Y, that means God, Krishna himself. Because her point was Krishna, because Krishna was actually leaving her kingdom and then going to his kingdom. So she was saying, now you are leaving us because everything is settled. No. We want you with us. We don't want to separate from you. If troubles to us are what will keep you with us, then we want those troubles. We want those troubles again and again, so that you are with us. So if you go away from us because we have no more troubles, no, I don't want that situation. So you see, just look at this. At 110 years old, after having spent a life of that amount of challenges, she's saying, please give those calamities not just once more, again and again. Vipada santu taha shashvat. Shashvat means for eternity. You can please give us again and again, on and on. You see how strong her mind was. She was completely okay with all those troubles because Krishna was with her. So that's how strong we should become. Gurunapi vichalyate, even the greatest dangerous situation will not waver our focus from our achieving love for Krishna. That is how we have to conduct ourselves. So Krishna loves us. He puts us in these. See, even the Pandavas, they went through all this. Krishna must have put them into that, right? But to show the world how strong his devotees are, he did that to them. But to us, he may do that to us also. He may test our devotion. Hey, we may say I am devotee of Krishna. So Krishna wants to say, oh, you are my devotee? Okay, let me see how much you are my devotee. Let me give you this little bit of trouble. Let me see where your faith goes. Do you still have faith in me, or will you just like, hey, Krishna, come on, I was chanting every day. What happened? What are you doing to me? If you say that, that means you have zero devotion. So he will test us now and then. So he will see how strong we are. So a devotee, you know how he sees everything, even if it's a miserable condition? He sees that tattenu kampam susamekshamano bhunjana evatma kritam vipakam hridvagvapur vidadhan namaste jivetayo muktipade sadhaya bhak. Let me take that out. 14:8. So this is the verse. My dear Lord, one who earnestly waits for you to bestow your causeless mercy upon him, all the while patiently suffering the reactions of his past misdeeds and offering you respectful obeisances with his heart, words, and body, is surely eligible for liberation, for it has become his rightful claim. So even if he's going through all kinds of miseries, he will always glorify the Lord. How does he glorify? He says, Krishna, I should have suffered way more than this. Because I am your devotee, you are giving just a token punishment to me, so that you're just giving a minimum token punishment just to remind myself of what heinous acts I have committed in the past lives, or this life, and every time. So you're actually saving me from a whole deal of trouble. I should have suffered for many lifetimes, but you just gave a little trouble and then finished with it. So you are saving me from so much trouble. And actually, this is not just an imagination of the devotee, it's a real fact. Because if not for Krishna consciousness, a person has to spend many millions of lifetimes in this material world. But his material life will be finished in this one lifetime. So what happens to all the karma that one has to go through for millions of lifetimes? Krishna as well, he compresses that, and suppose maybe by karma maybe I have to meet with an accident. So when we are a devotee, then we may get sometimes a bad dream. Maybe we got into an accident in the dream. So that is actually a token punishment which instills some fear into our heart, but what would have been much worse, Krishna just gives it like a dream and then finishes it off. And Krishna says that in the Bhagavad Gita. It's not just an imagination. I have shown you this the other day, but I'll show you again because we may forget. Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma suchaha. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. So he is giving the assurance. So he will save us from all these things. But we should not repeat it again. Not that, like many Christians do. Oh, I will confess. What is that? Okay. I will confess on a Sunday, and then Monday I'll come back and do the same nonsense. Again, I go on Sunday and confess, and on Monday. What is the meaning of the confession? That means you have understood your mistake. If you did not understand, you're committing the same nonsense again. Why are you confessing? Krishna knows when it is genuine and when it is not. So he will reward accordingly. So, okay, there are some questions. I think we don't have much time. We have half an hour left. Before we get to the questions, briefly, how to get out of this suffering. So Krishna, just now I showed, we should surrender to Krishna. And that surrender starts with Sevan mukhehi jihva dao. So starts with the tongue. Surrender starts with tongue. What is that? Surrender starts with tongue? Yeah. So because our tongue is most vociferous, I mean, very, very uncontrollable. So, instead of talking nonsense with the tongue, we should chant His holy name. We should chant His name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And this is so powerful. I've mentioned this in the first session that Krishna's name is equal to Krishna. You're directly associating with Krishna. And because Krishna is completely pure, by associating with the pure Krishna through His holy name, you also become pure. So we should take up the vow of chanting Krishna's name. In fact, every religion has a program for chanting God's names. That is because of this reason. Because God's name must be chanted in order to purify ourselves. Whether you take Islam, Christianity, Jewish religion, everywhere, Buddhist religion, everybody chants. Nowadays, of course, many people say they don't chant. But the real practice is, in every religion there is this chanting of prayers of the name of God. In some, they say, what is that? Even in Bible there is this quote, "Hallowed be thy name, O Lord, thou art in heaven, hallowed be thy name from dawn to dusk." What is that? Name. Satatam kirtayanto mam. We also have the same thing. In Muslim also they say Allahu Akbar. They chant like that. In fact, they chant God's name everywhere. Alhamdulillah, anything good happens, so they say Alhamdulillah. So in this way, everybody have their own, chanting of God's names in every religion. So that is actually the supreme religion for the age of Kali, chanting God's names. And we do it, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So this is the Maha Mantra. As I already told you, Krishna is the highest name for God because He is all attractive. Every other name highlights one or more of the six opulences, but Krishna implies all six opulences in infinite quantity. And that's what makes Him irresistibly, unlimitedly attractive. And that's the meaning of the name Krishna. So Hare Krishna, this Maha Mantra is the greatest mantra. There are other names like Vishnu Sahasranama. There are 1,000 names of Vishnu and all these things. But Krishna name and Rama name, it is said that 1,000 Vishnu's names is equal to one name of Rama. And 3 names of Rama is as powerful as one name of Krishna. So when you say Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, you are saying so many times multiplied effect, exponential effect of chanting the names of God. So all the other names are subordinate to this one name, Krishna and Rama. So it is like a concentrated drug which has the potency of thousands of Vishnu's names. So one mantra you chant, you do the math 1,000 times. Rama Rameti Rameti, Ramo, what is that? Ramo Name Manorame, Sahasranama Bhistulyam Rama Nama Varanane. So Sahasranama Bhistulyam Rama Nama Varanane. So this is in the Vishnu Sahasranama as well, and then also in the Padma Puran. So this is quoted. And let's go to that. Let's show you why this is the Maha Mantra. There are many names of God, unlimited numbers, but this is the reason why we chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, which is the greatest mantra of the names of God. So okay, what is this? Why we are coming here? Okay, let's see if it's here also. So both are here. Cited in Madhya Lila 932. Okay, let's hear. You see this? Rama Rameti Rameti Rame Rame Manorame Sahasranama Bhistulyam Rama Nama Varanane. In Vishnu Sahasranama it is Sahasranama Tatulyam. Here Sahasranama Bhistulyam, same thing. Now, Lord Shiva addressed his wife Durga. O Varanana, his wife's name. I chant the holy name of Ram, and thus enjoy this beautiful sound. This holy name of Ramachandra is equal to 1,000 holy names of Lord Vishnu. Then, next, Sahasranam nam punyanam triravritya itu yat phalam ekavritya tu Krishnasya namaikam tat prayachati. The pious results derived from chanting the 1,000 holy names of Vishnu 3 times, that means 3,000 holy names, can be attained by only one utterance of the holy name of Krishna. That's why Krishna is the greatest name. And this is from Laghu Bhagavatamrita, from Brahmanda Puran. So now, this is why we chant. And if you do the math, there are Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare, 4 Ramas and 4 Krishnas. So 12 plus 4, 16,000. And Hare is 8 times, so 8,000. So 24,000 names of Vishnu when we're chanting just once the Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Just that one mantra is equivalent to 24,000 names chanting of the name of Lord Vishnu, which is again another name of Krishna. So even other names like Allahu Akbar, or in the Christianity also we have. So all these are names of God, we don't deny. Absolutely. These are all Krishna's names, different names. Buddha, like what is that? Namo Amitabha, the chant also. So Buddhists also have the chant. So all these are different names, definitely, undeniably. Krishna's name and the Hare Krishna Mahamantra is particularly powerful because we have a short life and we want the greatest fruit out of this life, and therefore we have to take the concentrated medicine. So this Hare Krishna Mahamantra is a concentrated medicine, the great chant for deliverance. And once you chant, you will see how much peaceful you will feel, how much happy you will feel, especially when you chant without offenses. Very tranquil. Even a beginner can experience this. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So like this. Okay, so let's get to the questions. So we chant on the beads like this. Now we have this bag, and then we have these beads. So there are 108 beads in this whole round, and we chant at least minimum 16 rounds in a day. 16 times 108 of this Mahamantra. So if you can't immediately do that, so start with something you can and then slowly work your way up to 16 rounds. But coupled with the chanting, you also have to read our books and attend our classes. So in this way, you're also, because we will have still so many doubts, right? So, and some things are not very clear. So we need to regularly hear this. So even if it is something is clear now today, after some time is a destroyer. You know that. I mean, we have learned that. So it will destroy our knowledge, and then again we will be in ignorance. So we have to constantly remind ourselves of this knowledge and stay in touch with these lectures. That's why we conduct them online. Every week we have multiple lectures online, live streamed on our YouTube channel and our Facebook page. So all this because of to give opportunity to people who are not in close contact of the proximity of the temple. They can have this chance of hearing and keeping themselves spiritually alive. So with that, I would like to stop and I'll take any questions. So Ravinder Mohan Sharma is asking, what if a lady has been extremely distressed in her marriage but chooses to continue her duty to stay in the marriage and then later finds her soulmate? She still continues her distressing marriage out of duty in spite of finding her soulmate. What can we make of this? So if the marriage is distressing and if the man is not, it can happen either for the woman or the man. I mean, either way. As much as possible, one should make it work, but sometimes it may come to the point where the person is just abusive. Sometimes we may say the person is abusive, but may not be exactly. But sometimes it may be actually. Sometimes we tell small things as abusive. It's because sometimes, at least people are now, they have zero resilience, and then a little bit of a comment is abusive for them. So we don't accept that. So, but sometimes it actually gets abusive, quite abusive. So, how to deal for especially a woman? I mean, it's if a marriage is going off, I mean, it's like it's not working at all, even after repeated trials, then the woman can separate. It's not that she has to live with the abusive man all the time. She can leave him, but she should not marry again. That's the injunction of the Shastra. It's not that she finds another man and then another man. No, that's not correct. By right. Of course, nowadays all kind of things happen. But ideally, that is the standard, that a woman have to go back to her family and focus on her spiritual life and spend her life like that. Not again getting embroiled with all these things. Now there is no such thing as a soul mate, because our soul mate is Krishna. Because all these mate we have, this is only by the body. After this body is finished, there is no soul goes this way and that soul goes that way. there is no soul mate such as that. But so we should understand that these relationships are temporary, even if it's something is like so rosy. I mean, let's see in Ramayana. Although Ram and Sita are Vishnu and Lakshmi themselves, but they also showed an example for common man and woman. So they were a perfect match. I mean, nobody can be a better man than Ram, and nobody can be a better woman than Mother Sita. So chaste, so this thing, and then he's so dutiful and so Maryada Purushottam Ram. But still, you see the marriage. Of course, there's a different meaning to their so-called separation and all these seemingly distressing points in their life. But actually, it is called Vipralambha Bhava. It is another spiritual ecstasy, which is in separation. It's like Radha and Krishna. When Krishna went to Mathura, Radha had this separation ecstasy. That's called Vipralambha Bhava. It is a much more deeper topic. But externally, while enjoying that ecstasy in their hearts, they're also teaching us something, a valuable lesson, that you see, there's nobody qualified more than Ram and nobody qualified more than Sita, but even their match did not work out full of happiness. There will be unlimited, even though they may be compatible, but there will be forces from everywhere, from natural disasters or some other people, or something adhyatmik, adhibhautik, adhidaivik miseries that may throw the whole thing off. I mean, anything can happen, right? They may love each other and then something accident happens and one of them dies. So there are so many stories like this. And even if they actually spend their whole life together, it's not going to last. At one point, either by disagreement or by death, we have to separate. Right? So we can't stay forever. So there's no such thing as a soulmate. We should understand that everything is temporary. And if something has failed, okay, there's no more like going again, marrying. That's not the way. And this is stated in the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th chapter. 28th and 29th verses. I have no time to show now because we don't have much time. But this is the thing. This is how we should conduct ourselves. Yeah? Because it's not about finding a soulmate or what. It is about following the dharma. Because dharmon vittam niranam pretya. At the end of life, when we quit this body and go to the next, whatever dharmic activities we have done, religious and Krishna conscious activities, that is the thing that will elevate us. Not that some distressing position and I will accept some non-religious remedy for that and then I commit sin because of that. And then next life I'm asking for more. We have to work towards our elevation. That should be our focus. Spiritual elevation. And for that we have to follow the instructions of Krishna. Not give in to our my satisfaction. That is again working on the lusty platform. We have to work on love platform. On whatever is pleasurable to Krishna, I will do. If Krishna wants it this way, okay, I will do this way. That's it. Then we will elevate. Then we will actually find happiness also. We will find full fulfillment there. Okay, so next. Prabhupada concluded, if there were one government on the surface of the earth to handle the distribution of grain, there would be no question of scarcity, no necessity to open slaughterhouses, and no need to present false theories about overpopulation. That's true. That's in the purport of 4:1725. This theory of overpopulation is a complete nonsense. Complete nonsense. No such thing. Then question from Erica. If we have a karmic relationship with someone, how do we know that we can finish that relationship and how to release ourselves from that karma? Well, fulfill the duties. Whatever. If it's a mother to a child or a spouse or it's a father or whichever way. To fulfill that, again, with Krishna consciousness in the center. In fact, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked one of the devotees to serve his parents, and that is because his parents were devotees. Whereas Prahlad Maharaj did not serve his father. He was always against his father. It was not like he was rebellious, but he He did not agree with his father because his father was a demon and he was a devotee. And the father was saying, you don't become a devotee. He did not listen. He stayed a devotee. He did not obey his father. So one should serve one's parents. Of course, now not everybody is devotee, but at least serve them nicely and then introduce somehow or other, help them in Krishna consciousness. Help them understand. Not only parents, if sometimes maybe the spouse, sometimes maybe the children, or some friends or relatives or whatever. So we should try to help them awaken their Krishna consciousness. For that, at least I must be convinced of it myself, and then I can work on that. So how to finish that relationship? Well, it will be finished anyway. In the course of time, everything will be finished anyway. Every relationship will be finished. So we are just like brief travelers, meeting here and there, meeting for some time and then separating. So there's it's not like, we will always be together. So while we are together, just fulfill the responsibilities and materially and more importantly spiritually. Introduce somehow or other to Krishna, introduce them to Krishna consciousness. In that way, at least they will be helped. The soul will be helped. And ultimately, the body we can serve them, but the soul, we have to serve the soul. That is the real person. So whoever we have relationship with, like even in family entanglement, we have family, right? Family members it is an entanglement, it is an attachment. But we can use that in Krishna's service by training all of them and to be Krishna's devotees and understanding that they actually belong to Krishna, not to me. They belong to Krishna. And if they are in my family, okay, I have a chance to help them with Krishna consciousness. So in this way I have to see, it is an attachment. Yeah, personally it is an attachment. But if I disassociate myself, okay, this is not my real family. But at the same time, they are my family because the whole world is my family, because Krishna is the father of everyone and we are all his children. So now, with that understanding, yes, in fact, the monks, like the sannyasis, the brahmacharis who give up family life, it's not that they run away from the responsibility of family, responsibilities. No, they're not escapists. They actually take up the mission of taking the whole world as their family. They try to help everyone. Whereas a family man cannot do so. He will have so many commitments, he will be tied to his family. But those who are monks, they actually try to help everyone, taking everybody as their family member. So actually they accept unlimited responsibility. But it looks like they are escapists, they will leave their family, so-called family. Like even in a material sense, if a soldier leaves his family and goes to the border of the country and then fights in a war, now that's a sacrifice. Is he giving up his family? Kind of, but he's giving it up for a higher cause, for the country's cause. For the country's cause, he gave up his family. So for God's cause, who is the owner of all countries and planets and universes, we can give up family, country, everything, because that is the highest. But when we give up, it is not exactly give up. Give up a material so-called responsibilities, which is actually burdensome. The real thing is the spiritual responsibility. That he accepts. He wants to help the whole world. He will travel the whole world, but he will try to help them attain Krishna consciousness. So that responsibility one must take. Alright? That is how we can actually finish our karmic connection with anyone. By introducing them to Krishna consciousness. In fact, we should not view it as a karmic connection. Yeah, it is a karmic connection, fine. But we can use that, you can turn that into a spiritual connection by introducing them Krishna. And giving them a book, telling some things, sharing some perspective from Krishna conscious viewpoint, like that. You can educate them slowly. The next question, how do we know what makes Krishna happy and how do we know when he's happy? That's a good question. So what makes Krishna happy? Well, he has already told in the Bhagavad Gita that whatever we do, whatever we offer, whatever we give away, everything should be done as an offering to him. And everything that we have should be used in his service. Ishavasam idam sarvam. Everything belongs to him and we have to use it in his service. And the best way how to know this is through a guru. That's why we should have a spiritual master. Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasado. Because a guru who is very dear to Krishna, if through the guru, when the guru says, when the spiritual master says, okay, do like this, chant his name at least 16 times, 16 rounds every day on the beads, eat only Krishna prasadam, food offered to Krishna, and then no meat eating, no illicit sex, no gambling, no intoxication, and then read these books like Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and all these books, and stay in the association of devotees, become a devotee, bow down to Krishna, always think of him. So these are the things that make him happy. They're all actually mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita nicely. And in the association of devotees, we will learn what all will be satisfying to Krishna. So all these things which I said is very satisfying to Krishna. Basically, he wants us to see us love him. That's all. And Krishna says these many things in the Bhagavad Gita, and also Srila Prabhupada. He gave us a whole program how to lead our life in such a way that every moment of my day is an offering to Krishna. Whatever I'm doing it for the pleasure of Krishna. So through the Guru, we can understand what exactly Krishna wants. And Guru just does not invent this in his mind. He shows from the Vedic scriptures only. What Bhagavad Gita, what Krishna has said, he points us out. Okay, see, the Krishna said this, Krishna said that, Krishna said, and this is how you do, this is how you apply, this is how you practically do it in your life. So he gives us a whole program. So of course, I don't have much time to elaborate on the program, but we have the whole program. We can, of course, as you associate more with the devotees, then you will have more and more idea of what exactly to do with your life. But these things are some of the principal things you can employ in your life. Chanting, reading, attending the classes, and trying to help others share this knowledge with others by distributing the books. Even if you can't explain very nicely, because you're maybe a beginner, distribute the books. Okay, you know what? I found something nice, some really nice philosophy. I really felt good reading this book. Take this book and, tell me your thoughts about it. You read it and tell me. So that's a way to preach also. So I don't have to tell much. Let the book do the talking. And let me just hand the book to the person. So that's another way. So in this way, that these are things what makes Krishna happy. So that's in a very, very brief way I can put it. Okay, we only have like 5 more minutes. Okay, sorry, I'm always extending my listening. So if one is initiated, there is no reactions to his past karma. Please enlighten why it is mentioned as past deeds here, Prabhu. So okay, in the purport we can find the what is that? Explanation by I think Sridhar Swami, who explains that, I think Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur also, they resemble past misdeeds, but actually they are lessons, so that to detach ourselves, to help us detach from the material world. So Krishna repeatedly shows the naked form of the material world where it is troublesome, so that we don't have attraction, so that we don't develop any attraction towards the material world. So they might resemble karmic reactions, but actually they are special events or situations administered by the personal hand of the Lord to save the devotees, keep the devotees alert in the spiritual platform. Okay, so next one. I'm sorry, these are very short answers, but I know I'm running out of time. So why does someone always do good to others but put themselves in unfortunate tough situations? How can this cycle be stopped? Well, first of all, I have questions about that. Because always do good to others. Like how do we know we are doing good to others? Let's first evaluate that before we talk about tough situations for ourselves. But why? What is actually good? We think sometimes we are doing good. For example, African countries, we need to feed them. Okay, let's do some food distribution program. Or some disaster happened, maybe some earthquake, and then Red Cross goes there and gives food packets and all that. And then in that food packets there is meat. Now they are thinking they are helping, but actually they are adding more karma to their. They are suffering because of their karma. That earthquake, whatever happened, is because of some karmic reaction. And now they're giving meat. Okay, suffer more. So sometimes they think they're doing good, but actually they're not. So we need to know what good actually is. So good means we have to awaken them to Krishna consciousness. Yes, sometimes immediate bodily necessities are required. When somebody is hungry, you can't lecture to him about God. Okay, so give him prasadam, Krishna prasadam, food offered to Krishna. Satisfy his hunger. Okay, we can provide some shelter, whatever. But then eventually bring him to the point of the philosophy, the chanting and everything. He has to become God conscious ultimately. That is real help. Yes, immediately do some help, but then bring them to the real help, which is Krishna consciousness. You know. So then next question is, why does someone always do good to others but put themselves in an unfortunate tough situation? How can this cycle stop? No. When you're doing good, I'm talking about good means to preach Krishna consciousness. Actually, that is the only real good. Okay? So a preacher has to go through tough situations and it cannot be stopped. So in this material world, no one will thank you even when you're helping them, but still you have to help them. So Titikshavaha Karunikaha. So he is tolerant and he is merciful at the same time. Like the tree, Taroriva Sahishnuna. The tree gives the fruits. The tree is always giving charity. He will give fruits, he will give shade, he will give flowers, he will even give wood for our furniture. He will give leaves sometimes for herbs. A tree is always in charity, giving charity. And when somebody actually axes the tree and chops down the tree, he still doesn't protest. He will offer up his wood to some furniture or firewood or whatever it is. So one has to be tolerant like the tree. One has to be ready for tough situations in life to help others. You cannot be comfortable and help others at the same time. No. Helping others means like a lifeguard. If somebody is drowning, he has to, go and save him. He has to put himself in tough position, otherwise he can't help him. So you have to reach out to these people who are forgetful of the Lord, and then you have to bring them to this, but then they will not accept sometimes. So sometimes you have to accept these challenges. So they're always, you cannot avoid them in this material world. So that would be a utopian situation. If you really want no troubles, yes, spiritual world, Krishna's abode of God. That is perfect. Okay, we have 2 minutes. Sorry. Soulmate, search for your soulmate. Yeah. Search for your soul. You don't even know where the soul is. So for a devotee, miseries are different. Sometimes to stay with devotees, association itself is so difficult. Like we cannot travel to Singapore or stay there. Why are we put into such miseries? Well, that is another kind of misery. That is actually some ecstasy. It is a separation. That's a different issue. But I think this is more for the devotees. So since actually this original program was for in the Thailand, they are very new to this actually. So these questions are a little more for more advanced devotees. But I would like to answer those questions which are like for real beginners. Okay, I think that's it. I think we'll stop it there. And we can always discuss the other questions in our AMA sessions, Ask Me Anything sessions. And I think the following Monday I should have it, the coming Monday. Then hopefully we can answer some of the questions there. Alright, so thank you all very much for your time. I have taken the full 2.5 hours. I'm sorry. I wanted to see if I can do it earlier, but no, I will never do that. Okay, so thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Thank you all. Jai Srila Prabhupada.